Hello and welcome, I am Raziel, and today let's talk about the Sisters of Battle. I like the Sisters of Battle, they are fantastic. I know what the title is, it's very clickbaity, but I will get to that point, I promise. This is an introduction, and talking about the Sisters of Battle. Like I said, I like them, they're in my top factions for 40k. They have great history, lore, and models. And honestly, the James Swallow Omnibus and the books by Danny Ware are really worth reading. They're fun, they're enjoyable, they're 40k. Even the Genestealer book, which actually starts with the Sisters about and has a lot of in-depth about how they are in their religious ceremonies. And I like that. I think that sort of stuff is great. And like I said, I like the Sisters of Battle. They're also one of the few factions that we actually see them fulfilling multiple battlefield roles. We see the Hospitaller, the civilian hospitals, and looking after the citizens of the Imperium during wartime. And, they run actual civilian hospitals out in peacetime, if there's such a thing in 40k. And they have their, military side, the Adeptus Sororitas. It's, again, absolutely fantastic. I like that. And also, it kind of mirrors with, the hospitals being mostly run by women during wartime. It mirrors actual British history with, the Napoleonic Wars and people like Florence Nightingale, running the hospitals, helping the soldiers and the citizens during this time. It also means Sisters of Battle are probably on every battlefield in some role or other. Again, this is great. So the start of them, they were, the brides of the Emperor. Gog Van Dyne decides to take over the Ecclesiarchy and the Administratum and go a little bit nuts with power. And, the Imperium has a limit on tyranny, how tyrannical you're allowed to be. Not too tyrannical, but enough to keep the people in line. And a custody wakes up, actually does his job, and takes the leader of the Brides of the Emperor to see the Emperor himself. Her hair turns white, she takes off Gog Van Dyne's head, and that's it. This is where we are at with the story. Side note, and this is when, it was said that the artwork we see of the Emperor actually isn't the Emperor, but is another sanctum where the Emperor actually is. This kind of expands from this point at the age of apostasy, I should say. Her hair turns white, so she probably saw the real Emperor, not the one that everyone queues up at the Eternal Gate to see. Again, I do like that when he kind of expands and say, yeah, actually that isn't the Emperor. You haven't actually seen the real Emperor yet. And we could probably see that further on, knowing that there is this other sanctum here. Anyway, back to the Sisters of Battle. As I said, they have two main roles, which we see in the lore. That is the battlefield role, the military side, and the hospital side. However, since Gog Van Dyne was told to go, quite literally, and lost his head over it, we see that there was a massive turn in the Imperial political side. And again, I do like stories like this. More intrigue and not just shooting and more shooting. There was now a separation of church and state. This is actual real world politics we talk about nowadays as well. But this isn't a political video, so don't make any comments about that. But we see this separation of church and state that, ecclesiarchy can never be in full control again. And it's actually fantastic. It's great. I love seeing stuff like this. And then the decree passive was passed, where the ecclesiarchy would no longer allow any men under arms. Interesting wording there. You should have Archer saying phrasing. When they go, okay, but the brides of the Emperor aren't men, they're women. We can have them. And they were like, damn it, we should have said no one under arms, but never mind. And so we get the brides of the Emperor now being in the military side of the ecclesiarchy, and rather than, and having a name which they now think is blasphemous, they changed it to the Daughters of the Emperor and the Adeptus Sororitas. Now, the Adeptus Sororitas are also aligned with the Ordos Hereticus. They hunt witches and cultists, and in the words of Cyphus Cain, if you want to ever lead Sisters of Battle, you point at the enemy and shout heretic. Okay, that pretty much works. And we see a lot of good stories. Like I said, James Swallow and Danny Ware have done fantastic work with this faction. Honestly, read the James Swallow Omnibus. It's really good. I really enjoy it. And that's great. We see a lot of this. Now, the issue is there is a third, more important role. Even the Sisters of Battle in the codices actually state this is their most important role they fulfill. They are the watchmen of the ecclesiarchy. They are there to make sure that they don't overstep the line. They are there to put down any priest, confessor, or anyone up to the point of the actual High Lord himself, to make sure that, he doesn't do what he's not allowed to do. That makes sense to me. So in the, Custodes, who watches the Watchmen? The Sisters of Battle are the police of the ecclesiarchy. And the fact that we rarely ever see this is a shame, because this has so many implications and can really add some depth to the law, because we have everything there. We can have a full investigation on, they think there's this priest, he's overstepping on. He's not a traitor. He isn't turning to chaos. He isn't aligning himself with Xenos. He's preaching the Imperial Creed, and he isn't doing anything wrong superfluously. And so that's it. So what's the problem? The problem is he's, gaining too much power, which is one of the reasons I did it. They had to add Thrax. I want to talk about Thrax a little bit. With him, he was gaining a lot of power, and he was really overstepping his mark. And the Sisters of Battle should have been the ones that put him down, but Forge World wanted to push Kriegsman. That should have been a Sisters of Battle role, not an Imperial Guard role, in my opinion. So that's their job. They are there to do that. And as I said, it adds a lot more depth to the lore, especially the Sisters of Battle. The Sisters of Battle, like I said, are really good. And having this interesting, and we can see the political connotations of where, a hard-headed Sisters of Battle canoness are like, he's overstepping him up, I'm going to execute him. And they're like, wait, what about the political side? And seeing that, and seeing what can be put up in their way to stop them doing their job. And like I said, we don't really see a lot of politics in 40k. We know it's there, and we have seen a lot of it lately, but in the older books there was very little. Like Guilliman not being able to continue his crusade, even though he's literally the son of the Emperor. And what was the other one I was thinking about there? Oh, and the Death Watch almost didn't get created because they thought that, Slaughter was going to create another legion. The Last War Protocol, and how that could affect the political side. However, we're back to the Sisters of Battle here. And this, to me, we could have a real good story, which actually wouldn't include a lot of shooting and fighting. An in-depth story about a canoness, or just a normal Sisters of Battle discovering this plan to rule the Imperium, or rule a system far beyond their own reach. They could even be recruiting militia, and what could be getting in their way and what could be stopping them, and not actually having any form of chaos or any external threat. This could be an entire threat within, and they have to stop it. And we could see far more into how this side of the Sisters of Battle works. Again, we don't really see it. We see them going after cultists, traitor psychers, traitor confessors, people who are turning to chaos. But what about a preacher who's not turning to chaos? A preacher who is not aligning with Xenos, but is overstepping his boundaries, who is doing what he shouldn't be doing, and the Sisters of Battle actually do finally have to step in to stop him. Have the whole political side. Even stuff like, it would be a fun, interesting story to see the actual legal system work in the 40k series. Saying. We don't, again, this is not something we really see. Dan Abnett did a good bit of this, talking about with his, Eisenhorn books, and we saw a little bit of that there, seeing that Inquisitors aren't just, raving psychos who just stop and go, heretic, you're dead. Actually have to investigate. And something I would like to see more in the 40k. We do have the crime books now, which are good, but I want to see more of Sisters about actually doing this. This is what they were meant to do. They are meant to be the ones that, make sure the ecclesiarchy stay in line, and having this, level of intrigue at the highest powers of administratum and ecclesiarchy finally being questioned, and stuff like that really gets my goat. I love books like that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was well put together, I hope. And I'll see you all again soon. Links to Rainier Games down below as always. If you want to save up to 20% on your Warhammer, and free delivery after £20. You know what I mean. Forbidden Planet, for comics, DVDs, manga and all that. My merchandise, cups, t-shirts, stickers, and my comics, which I did all myself by hand. No digital art there. And I'll see you all again in the next one. Goodbye.